Welcome back to the LCS Countdown. We're about 7:40 away from 100 Thieves versus Clutch Gaming, so narrowing in on that. Just so we can get to the semifinal match sooner, though, it's time for me to hand it over to Jat for some Jat stats. Yeah, we got to fire through this.
We're close to this game.
Yes.
All right, a player with the smallest champion pool in the North American LCS. So this player played every game.
All games.
Only played 5 unique champions.
Flame.
Who is this person?
Flame.
You already know it?
No, I'm just saying Flame.
Oh, okay, All-Tech.
Meteos. He's in the game today.
Oh,
He's only played 5 junglers.
Okay, good to know.
Wow.
Next.
Question 2. There were 83 unique champion pick bans in the North American LCS this split, but 2 champions were banned yet never picked. If you name either of them, you got it. I'll give you some hints. One of the champions is a jungler that has been the most played jungler for both Meteos and Lyra in a split in the past. The other one is a support who in the past has been Hakuo's second most played support in an individual split. Can you name either of these champions?
I'm thinking Rek'Sai, because I remember seeing it in Academy, but I don't remember seeing it bounce back into the LCS.
Was Rek'Sai banned in this split?
Well, I don't remember.
One ban, no picks.
And the fact that they said it was played all the time, Rek'Sai spammed, or Lyra spammed it a lot, and Meteos has played a lot of Rek'Sai. So I'm going to go Rek'Sai for
that
one.
That makes sense.
What did you say for him for the other one? Because that's just.
It has been a top 2 most picked for Hakuo in a split before.
Well, so it would have been Morgana or Thresh, but he's played
Karma's been played.
Karma, Soraka.
No, I mean Soraka maybe. Did we see any Soraka?
You guys already got it. It was Rek'Sai, and the other one is Zyra.
Zyra.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would have gotten.
is a
I would
big
have gotten
one
there
for
because I
Aqua.
knew I knew we saw
Question
Soraka.
3.
Yeah, so I was looking at stats.
I got that.
And we talk about Clutch Gaming not getting first blood. They also give up first blood a lot. So of the Clutch players, all coming into the day, all of them actually lead or are tied in their role for most first blood deaths. Every single
one of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most first blood deaths for their role. So which player on Clutch has the most first blood deaths?
I'm leaning towards
not
Lyra.
Febby.
I'm leaning towards Lyra. Yeah,
It could be Lyra.
Solo feels like.
I feel like Solo's under his turret a lot, though, so I don't.
Maybe not. I'm gonna go with Lyra.
I like Lyra as a guess.
Do you want to split it up? Oh, it's Solo.
It's Solo. They both said Lyra. We're trying to get through.
I said like I felt like it was maybe Solo.
Hey, at least we got through that quickly. That was probably the least painful Jat stats of all because we got through it so fast. Time for some over-under. I like this one. We did some over-unders for the other best of 5, so we got them here today. First up, Febiven's deaths in this best of 5 series. We're putting it at the same mark that Doublelift was at, 3.5. What are you guys thinking, over-under?
I mean, we were seeing that, and he loses really gracefully if you look back at his games, like 2-0-1 in a loss, 3-1 and 3 in a loss.
Yeah,
so
in the 2 tiebreaker games, he died 3 times per game. Or wait, no, he died 2 times per game. But I'm still going to go under. I think he plays super safe.
Both of you under?
Under.
Woo!
Yeah,
Under, even as the underdogs in the series. I like it. Okay, next up, total kills in this game. Yesterday we had it a bit higher. Today we're going at 70.5.
So I think we're looking at this potentially being not as close of a series as well as a lower kill series. So I'm actually still going to take the over, however, because I do feel like this will be a game that goes a little bit longer.
I mean, you think it's a 4-game? Well, we'll get to predictions
we'll
in
get
a
to
bit.
Predictions, it's hard to answer these without giving those away, but maybe more than one.
Yesterday we had 99 kills in
4
games.
We had a lot.
I still feel like 100 Thieves has played slow most of the year. Clutch has definitely played super slow.
Okay,
and there's a chance of a 3-0. I'm going under.
Under?
I'm saying over, just feels like a lot bloodier in the playoffs.
All right, we got a difference here. Last one, hooks or bindings thrown. Total number thrown throughout this series. Actually, should get some clarification on whether or not that's specifically from Hakuho or across both teams.
Whole series.
It's across the whole series.
Both. So it's any and all hooks and bindings thrown.
And the thing that's interesting to me here is if you get the Morgana Thresh matchup, on average, that means you're going to get 90 of those thrown
in one game.
Right out the door at the game.
Right.
Plus, you might get other matchups like Thresh or Morg played or Blitzcrank.
Nautilus not on the list.
Nautilus should count. If he doesn't count, it's not going to happen. But I will take the over on this. I feel like we're going to get some of these matchups. I don't know if the supports will eat a lot of bans. We talk about how important both of them are. So maybe they just ban out a lot of these champions and we never see them.
Exactly. That's the gamble here.
That's the gamble. I expect we'll see them, and I expect we will see a lot of these skill shots.
So over or under?
I'm saying over.
You're saying
over 130.
I'm going under. I think we're going to see a lot of Braum.
A lot of Braum and a lot of bans.
So even if you see Thresh in 3 games against a Tom Kench, that's still under 130 hooks.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to get the Morg Thresh matchup.
Like
I hope we don't, for the sake of this.
I would love to see tons of hooks and bindings. Ideally, they're hitting and starting action. We got 3 minutes left to go, so now it's time for some win conditions. Jat, today, you get to kick us off with Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, we talked about how these are somewhat similarly themed teams in the way they match up, and 100 Thieves doesn't actually run over people early, but when they do make plays, I think it's around Meteos' playmaking, if I'm expecting Haku and Aframe to both make plays. So the big thing for Clutch Gaming is to shut down Meteos, because if he isn't making any plays, Clutch Gaming will have the freedom to make plays, and also it means their defense is working.
Okay, Mark?
For me, 100 Thieves, you got to out-hook Hakuho, and not specifically hook...
that's an easy ask.
Throw more hooks.
Well, you got Aframu to do it, right?
Be better than him today. He was the bright, shining star for Clutch Gaming and why they upset TSM.
Yep.
And you guys play very similar styles. We've already highlighted that. And when that happens, it doesn't really come down as much to strategy and really completely outthinking your opponent the way you might see in other series. This one feels like execution-based. And so you're going to need to make sure that you are playing better than your opponent today. I expect that to be true. You kind of already hit on Meteos being one of the key factors, but especially if you can outperform the best player on the enemy team that you saw, then you're in a pretty good spot there to take the series.
All right, well, with the win conditions in mind, the strengths of these teams in mind, it's time to throw our predictions out for this series. So down the line, what are we looking at? Actually, Jat, we're going to start with you. Come this way.
I got 3-1 for 100 Thieves.
Okay.
Part of this has to do with the fact that 100 Thieves 2-0'd them in the regular season, has that large winning streak, and the fact that Clutch Gaming still only has that one win against every remaining playoff team coming into this week. They haven't really beaten the teams that are better than them, and I still think TSM played really badly last week, even if Haku had a good performance. So it makes 100 Thieves a pretty strong favorite for me right here, but anything can happen in a series as well, which is why I'll say 3-1.
3-1 for 100 Thieves. What are you thinking?
3-1, same for me. I'm a little less negative on Clutch Game. I do think that they have stepped up a lot, but 100 Thieves, last we saw, were doing great. They have that kind of veteran mentality, so you expect that to carry over here, and I think that they will continue to perform well in this series. I do think that Clutch has a chance. It's April Fools. It feels like when no one believes in them, that's when they do their best, so I'm especially believing in 100 Thieves just to give them the ultimate mindset of underdog.
There you have it.
Make sure it's going to be, oh yeah, 100 Thieves not close.
They did it last week. We'll see if they can do it again. We got 100 Thieves and Clutch Gaming coming your way in just a minute, so we're going to toss it out to the Battle Arena to get it underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello, everybody. I am Rivington Bisland III, and here to bring witness to this last semifinal with me in this match is Aiden Zyrene Moon and Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley. Gentlemen, we got a hot one on our hands tonight, and somebody's going to Miami.
Absolutely. I mean, both teams will be in Miami.
Both teams going to Miami, but happier.
Exactly.
Yeah, much happier.
One of them will be in the finals, but both these teams, new organizations here, and for those orgs, it would be huge to even just make the finals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, already just the fact that they are this far, I think, is really an accomplishment for both these teams. Clutch was underrated by, I think, many people coming into the split. Not really given much of a chance against TSM, and here they are.
And the question has been asked over and over again. Clutch, they made the playoffs, but when will people start considering them a good team? And the answer was always when they win. If they win here, they definitely are considered a giant.
Well, we'll see what kind of homework they did now coming into the semifinals. Quite a few games for 100 Thieves to see on Clutch through tiebreakers and their match versus TSM. 100 Thieves coming off that first place spot on the split here to start off with the Azir and Thresh band recognizing Hakuo's potential, and that Swain's already out of the game.
Yeah, so both kind of the big picks there from last week for Clutch have already been targeted. Azir is such a big champion for Fevin as well. That's another one that a lot of people really like to look at.
And this champion select right now, I actually really like it. Trundle would be the champion that jumps out to me, who made an appearance for Team Liquid yesterday and really works against a lot of the champions. And then Caitlyn is kind of another one that's up in that top tier.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how highly Trundle is going to be prized in this series, because neither of these teams have actually been playing it at all, but we have been seeing it globally come up more and more and more, and then yesterday rising all the way up to a first pick, even being blind picked by Smithy into Dardoch was showing just how valued that pick is.
Yeah, but one of these teams or both have possibly played against it in scrims, because you would assume that you're scrimming across the bracket if you're Team Liquid, so these teams would have been a little inoculated to the fact that Trundle is a pick that is out there in the jungle right now, but we're seeing kind of the same matchup we saw yesterday in that bottom lane.
And that Trundle will be locked in for the side of Clutch Gaming. Lear grabs that up just for himself as we have 20 seconds left on the side of Thieves for their 2 and 3.
It's definitely pretty interesting because the Trundle Ashe Cassio combo is what we saw the kind of core of the Team Liquid lineup be multiple games, and there is the possibility for that to be grabbed up here from Clutch. And I do really like bringing a high DPS mid laner alongside that Ashe, who is more utility based than some of the other AD carries. Trundle's also going to help you punch through a lot of the front line there, so that combo can be incredibly strong, and interested to see if Ryu is going to grab a mid laner for himself here or try to save that for the second round.
Yeah, and they've picked the Olaf here into the Trundle, where really all the top-tier junglers right now suffer against Trundle. Both Olaf and Skarner, the pillar really does destroy them, and then he takes all the resistances from Aftershock junglers and reduces them into negative MR most of the time.
I think the Orianna pick is actually pretty smart, though, anticipating any potential Cassio, because you're already kind of pre-counterpicking that. Fevivin does have some options, expecting something to be a bit more standard.
Yeah.
Not really looking
He
for
went
the set to
LeBlanc.
come out,
LeBlanc game 1 yesterday.
Okay.
Syndra!
So he
Interesting.
locks that in, goes for a little surefire power from the mid lane so he can have that carry potential, but with Ryu saying, I want that Orianna, Fevivin makes sure he doesn't get pinched in at mid lane for second bans.
And so we're seeing a lot of kind of almost like similar structure type compositions from what we had seen yesterday. The Trundle plus Ashe, slow chase down, constant DPS and making sure that you can kite. But then on the other side for 100 Thieves, Caitlyn Orianna, where late game you can just shield the Caitlyn and have her be this gigantic threat, allows her to scale into the late game and not just dominate lane.
I'm also very interested to see where the supports are going to take us in this first game. There's been so much hype around Aphromoo and Hakuo coming into this series after Hakuo's monster performance, in the quarterfinals, and Aphramoo's incredible split. So are we going to see them go to melee supports or double range supports, as we saw even the Nami brought out from Adrian yesterday that was very effective in lane?
Yeah, and these guys, Apollo and Hakuho had a fantastic match against TSM, where Apollo only died twice in that whole match. But then 100 Thieves on the other side, like you said, Azael, Cody Sun and Aphromoo, they're the all-pro bottom lane for the NALCS here, playing out of their minds this entire split. And so I'm really excited to see what Aphromoo picks here, but I think this might be a last pick support here to see who can get some type of advantage, because we're seeing 3, maybe 4+ bans here in this second phase towards just supports.
Yeah. I mean, basically all the melee supports are being kind of taken off the board here. Taric is still available, something that some players do like to select, but it's not something we've been seeing a lot of recently, and it is looking like it will be that last pick support, as you called out, unless you're seeing some sort of a weird support flex, like a Trundle or a Sion, which is played in solo queue, but definitely not often in pro.
I mean, that was Hakuo's picks before, right? He did have that Trundle, but you're right, probably just going to stay where it is for now. I mean, think of what you have to ban as well against Aphromoo and Cody Sun. Two guys that are kind of sitting up top of the thought of the MVP list. You got to ban something out from that bot lane, and they do focus it here. Second bans, they're looking for some tank, though. They get the choke out.
Yeah, it's that respect. I'm really interested right now because the bottom lane, the support matchup, coming into this game, it's like, how long has it been since we've been really hyped about a support matchup? He's got to go through all the hook champions here, but there are still a lot on the table, right? You still have Blitzcrank. The Bard is available. Morgana has been banned multiple times, and Morgana Kate, a very oppressive bottom lane.
I really like the Morgana, especially because it's also a takeaway from Hakuo. And Hakuo, a quick lock-in on the Karma, which, in my opinion, is a better matchup in that 2v2. Because you can poke off the Black Shield, there's no CC that you're really immuning. And Karma plus this Ashe can push very heavily. They can push you in, poke you out. It is very scary, but at the same time, if a binding does land, comboing that with the trap is extremely effective.
Yeah, and I had talked to Golden Glue when he was on the NALCS, or I guess the Academy League. And he was talking about Caitlyn Morgana in scrims just seems really oppressive, and nobody's found what really cracks open that bottom lane, and they shove against you constantly. But Ashe plus Morgana, or plus Karma, has a lot of shoving power to actually kind of equalize the push there. So once again, very interested in this bottom lane and how it fleshes out.
And the thing you always have to worry about then is if you are going to be this pushing lane of the Ashe and Karma, watching out for Meteos on the Olaf. The Olaf is the more powerful early ganker, and if you are getting shoved up, if you get hit by a binding and the Olaf is there, you are dead. These are squishy champions. There's no way out of that unless you have Lyra in place to counter game. So they're going to have to be cognizant of the fact that Olaf will have the advantages, and despite the fact they want to push, you don't always get to unless you know where he is.
Looking back at Meteos' plays here, this is going to be that first Olaf being locked in. Zach, Skarner, Zach, Sejuani, Jax back to week 7 and whatnot. So he is bringing it out of the gates here. Obviously knows what to do with the axes on the Viking. But we'll have to see his 100 Thieves plans this heist now against Clutch Gaming, who will be trying for that first place match against Liquid in Miami. We'll find out as we get onto the Rift for Game 1 of the semifinals. Off and running. There's a line of scrimmage to be started off and figure out where both junglers are going to be getting their first buff on camps. Predator, Meteos, as we would expect, going to be trying to run fast.
And another great thing about Trundle is bringing the press the attack on the opposite side, because he just ends up adding a lot more damage to the compositions, and that's really going to help out people like Apollo, who's really been bringing it lately.
And earlier, Apollo shared his thoughts on going into this semifinal overall.
Going against 100 Thieves, and they've kind of had our number this split. We haven't been doing well versus them, even in scrims. So we know that it's all about just how well we're going to play on stage. In terms of practice, I think, yeah, there's going to be a few things that we can work on during practice this week, but at the end of the day, we just have to perform well on stage, because I don't think you can make fast improvements over in 1 week to be a better team than them. I think at this point, we're gonna play our best, and if we aren't better than them, then we're not better than them.
Yeah, wise words from Apollo, but flash forced out from Hako, and this is honestly very reminiscent of the kind of invade that we saw yesterday from Echo Fox, which actually net Echo Fox a first blood. You have to be so wary of those Olaf axes. There's so much potential to chase down if you do get tagged, and now you have to be worried even more so about any potential ganks, because it's the flashless Karma who wants to push, but is really going to expose herself to do it.
Yeah, flashless Karma that wants to push, and the Olaf is starting on the top side with no leash, so he'll be on the bottom side around level 3. And he can allow both his lanes to start pushing on their own, so it means that he can kind of go to whatever lane he wants later.
It's also pretty interesting to track the fact that Solo is actually going Glacial Augment. Much more common is just the Comet. That does help you out with your laning quite a bit more, as far as having a little bit more harass, a little bit more lane dominance there to match up with the grass, but it is going to be kind of more useful in the team fights, and also just for any potential chase down. If you are getting too far up as a Cho'Gath in lane, you certainly can get ran down by a Trundle and a Glacial Augment somehow.
Yeah, we've seen it kind of go back and forth, and Glacial Augment has kind of come up a little bit more recently because people like slowing in the team fights, adding a little bit more utility, but also, if you die, you don't need a Frozen Mallet. You just start punching the guy and slowing him down. So there is potential to actually kill with the passive on top of it, too.
Just watching the jungler paths right now. Could be interesting how they end up here. We see clear full by Meteos. Krugs are still up top for Lyra if he decides to swing back around his jungle, but they're going to meet on the bottom side, and pushed up so far for Cody Sun here and Aframu to add some pressure.
Yeah, which is good from Lyra, because he went from his bottom side to the top side and cleared 3 camps, and now he's looping back around. So normally you do your Wolf second, but he decided to actually come back for them to put him on this side of the map.
Yeah, and Meteos has actually, not even used the potion yet, so he is doing the fastest possible clear, trying to stay very low in the jungle to utilize his passive. 1% more attack speed for every 1% of missing health, and that means he's already level 4. He's down on the bottom side of the map. He can pop his potions now, and even potentially look for some sort of a gank.
Yeah, I think he'll back and get his Predator boots before he tries to do that, because this Olaf, what Meteos is probably saying is, you outpace the Trundle, because one of Trundle's weaknesses in the jungle is he just can't clear Raptors very quickly. He can't clear AoE camps quickly and like Krugs, whereas Olaf has that advantage over him. So Meteos is just looking for the pace advantage right now to back and then have a better fight later on. So as you can see now, you'll have the Trundle recall at 1 camp behind.
You basically got that as well out of the Scryer's Bloom from Solo. All that information you just said, basically over to Lyra. Now he knows that jungle is cleared all the way full bottom, and Meteos is out and running and dangerous.
If Meteos just goes for a straight up lane gank, though, there's no wards to actually spot this out, so Solo's going to have to be pretty careful here, and they're going to go for it.
One hit, looking for the silence, maybe the Rupture first. They want to get that flash out of him before they place the Rupture down. He gets hit up, and he's going to get taken down. First blood to Meteos.
Perfect gank there from Meteos. The timing of his back, gets the Predator, knows that Lyra doesn't have the same pace as him, and then the lane gank, and Solo doesn't even get flash off.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to hold it to perhaps avoid the Rupture, but the silence into Rupture combo there from Someday, perfectly done, and they don't even have to expend much at all here. So here it is, Predator straight up the lane. They're trying to wait because he knows he needs to avoid the Rupture to be able to survive this gank, but the silence comes through. That is guaranteeing that Rupture to land with the Axlow on top of it, and just a really well executed early play top from Meteos.
Yeah, but Solo, he gets the TP back after using the passive to kill some minions, so he actually doesn't miss anything here. It just means that he won't have TP, because Sunday's not going to use his and go up there and have the advantage.
Nice multitasking by Hakuo, getting the Soul Flares over on and making sure he can lock down Aframu so they cannot retaliate here. Lyra back on the map, thinks that Meteos may have some time to himself on the top side, so he goes for Dragon.
It's always one of the fun things to me is watching someone, like Hakuo, who is such a Morgana expert, not only play the champion, but play against it.
Right.
Because they have so much experience playing it. You know what is the most frustrating thing to deal with when your opponents are doing it. You know the best ways to actually, bait out Black Shield and make it feel useless. So, I'm going to be very excited to see how he's able to pull that off.
He's going to push for it. He will.
Oh, misses flash for that.
Oh,
they're going to keep on with the fight, binding straight through the uprights as they're not able to capitalize on a kill there. And get out with Dragon. Nice job by Lyra and crew.
Well, they're not able to capitalize on it. They don't get the Dragon, but they also blow 2 flashes to try and steal it, and they only get 1 flash in return. So now Hakuho and Apollo will have the advantage over Afromu and Cody-san bottom.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty expensive attempt there. A little bit surprised they went for it.
Yeah.
If Afromu hit that binding on the flash, maybe they pick up a kill or 2, and then it can become pretty worthwhile, but they were pretty late to the play, and perhaps just feeling that based on the strength of Meteos this early on, you know, is level 6. It was not a level 6 Trundle, maybe feeling like he could have gotten something done there.
Yeah, also the fact that he got that first blood. He hasn't backed to spend that money just yet, but the experience, like you said, has been coming in big for him. So Meteos, he's looking to outpace, and right now I feel like the NALCS Countdown did a really good job of covering this whole series because Meteos is now playing his 6th unique champion. We just have Solo giving up his 6th first blood. And now we also have this kind of the win conditions at work here where Meteos trying to stop him from dominating was one of the win conditions.
Yeah. And
And then also stopping Hakuho from having a good game is the other one here. So it's kind of been an action where Hakuho had to blow that flash, and now Meteos is taking over a bit.
see how they adjust. They have that solo TP down as well. I probably feel like Someday is okay at this point, and they can add pressure around the map. Eyes on Lyra, or even for Clutch Gaming, eyes on Meteos and where he's headed. Right now, just in the back pocket of Ryu, and they'll get that vision out of ward placed by Fevivin.
Yeah, a nice ward there is going to spot him out, and Meteos can at least go in and clear out a little bit of vision, spots this pink, and they're probably going to make the invade for the red buff on respawn. You can see Ryu is actually moving over here, trying to support his jungler, and with Smithy on the bottom side of the map, this is just going to be 100 Thieves red buff, and there's even potential to pressure solo under turret if they want to look to do that.
Might even squeeze it. Throws up, says Krugs are there. He may actually be coming up to get that. Mid lane, 72 to 79. Fevivin going to back for himself, get a few more items as they stack up their tiers, and pretty slow and calm mid lane, all things considered.
And handing off the blue buff here to Ryu so that he'll have that and stack up that tier like you said, Riv. But Meteos is doing a great job right now of even controlling Lyra and making sure that he can't just take over the game like he did versus TSM. Just think back, it was a lot of Lyra's counter ganks at the right time where he showed up in the bottom lane against Mike Young and was there just a little bit sooner than him. And sometimes even just countering it flat out. So Lyra usually has a good read on the enemy jungle, but up against Meteos, this is one of those matchups that Meteos even talks about in interviews where he says Lyra is very difficult to play against, it's very hard to read where he's going to go, and he usually has a pretty good read on his enemy.
I'm pretty excited to see if Meteos is going to now head down to the bottom side. You know, level 6 has just been ding for Cody-san. Afromu going to hit level 6 here pretty soon as well. And, you know, if that Morgana can hit 6, set up for that Soul Shackles, the ultimate coming out of Morgana, if you can hit those axes as well from Olaf, there's definitely potential to kind of chase these guys down as Clutch is starting to push up.
I think he might want to group up here with Ryu, go invade the jungle, clear out vision, and potentially get a better back for his mid laner. Since both mid laners only have tiers in their inventory, you know they're sitting on a decent amount of gold. So clear vision, back, and make sure that you're just kind of hovering that lane. He's 2 levels up on Lyra right now, so he has been doing a fantastic job in that jungle.
We'll see where they head from here. It's got to feel good for Meteos, getting that first blood, but the teleport, or I should say flash over the wall when they went for Dragon wasn't too helpful. It has slowed things down for them here, and now we see Clutch Gaming on the bot side liking that pressure, feeling good to keep this kind of set up right in front of 100 Thieves turret, but in a place where they can take a fight.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting dynamic because Afromu had blown his flash, so he's playing defensive, but at the same time, Solo had used his TP and Someday hadn't. So there was this TP disadvantage, but Solo's TP is coming up right now. So if Meteos goes for this play, there's potential for more people to show up.
I mean, they are looking for that lane gank that I was talking about. Meteos does have the Predator active. His flash is not up just yet, but Hakuho and Apollo, if they do get too far forward, certainly could look for it, but not seeing the opportunity. So Meteos just going to head back to base and continue farming and grabbing early Lucidity boots, completed Cinderhulk. He's going to be very strong and have, you know, those cooldowns up that much more often.
Ooh, Meteos. This Hawk shot, yeah, it's going to spot him. Sitting there going, Hawk shot, I feel like it gives a lot more information than you get to see in Spectator, and you're not always sure where they, if they know he's there or not, but the Ashe provides so much vision and can really track and make it so that you know when to go aggressive on the bottom side of the map.
Well, they try to pick up some of their own vision, get a little more on the map. So we've seen after First Blood things calm down, a little bit of pressure towards the Dragon, but nothing else forced here. We have Rift. If the map, or I should say, if the game kind of goes even like this, who's that gonna benefit? Is we still have turrets up, objectives up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say, completely, because there is pretty strong scaling on both sides, and it's going to come down to how the team fights are played out. But as one of the things that I do think is a really big advantage for Clutch is just the Trundle. I think Trundle becomes so much more useful than Meteos here on the Olaf, and being able to even shred down and ult this Cho'Gath is actually incredibly strong.
Nice,
You're
damn.
feeling so much.
Whoa, they're going in.
They're trying to retaliate. They said, well, we're kind of forced into this one. Ranger shot coming through. And it's going to be the hit from Lyra to take him down. Flash in.
Ryu's
Ryu's himself
down,
out
though.
safely. The rotation in from Ryu. He's just going to be a little too late as they can't make it to the party.
Meteos
but
on the
Meteos is there. Can he get the activation on the Predator? Not going to get it in time and get close enough. And in and out from Clutch Gaming.
It was very quick of them to collapse there, and that's one of those plays that you don't even know if they're going to go for. The pillar came down from Lyra, then he ulties, then he flashed
I don't
trumps.
think they wanted it until they thought Apollo was in risk of dying.
Wait, right here, speaking of dying, Cody's son.
Not looking good. He figured he was in a safe spot. False hope. Clutch Gaming come up with another kill.
Yeah, big plays on the bottom side of the map there for Clutch, and it honestly just felt like Afro and Cody stayed around a little bit too long around that turret. They were playing with fire a bit, and as you said, the ults came down, they start getting a bit low, and they find their opportunity to dive in. I mean, it was not enough that they survived this 2v3. They wanted to try to fight back and even get a kill here, and it almost feels like the binding kind of baited them to go perhaps a little bit too far.
And there's the pillar up against the wall, then he ulties Afromu, then the ult from Apollo came through for the stun, and Afromu just flashes a little late there, thinking that he was going to be okay. And then this, wait, we've been talking about the 100 Thieves bottom lane, pretty much all split. Cody's son, consistent, late game damage, high damage per minute. And this guy is just a rock for his team with Afro behind him. But Clutch Gaming have been showing, especially since those quarterfinals, that this bottom lane has been slept on.
And that early flash from Hakuo with the tether is so smart, because then there's no use flashing for Cody's son. If you wait till he flashes to follow, he can break the tether and escape. But early flashing means even if he uses it, he is guaranteed to get locked up and killed off. So nicely played by Apollo and Hakuo there.
I think that's one thing Clutch Gaming does well also, is they look for a little bit more on a play without kind of pushing themselves over the line and going too far.
And it looked like Someday was roaming down there to potentially go towards mid, shoves up and tries to affect the map there. You see you got a deeper ward to try and help track Lyra.
And honestly, anytime you have the push advantage, even just threatening those plays, even if you're not going to commit to it, is very nice. It makes the opposing mid laner play with a lot more respect. You can clear out wards. You can always be looking to take away camps and these sorts of things. So it's always something that you should look to do if you cannot punish your opponent under turret, which honestly Cho'Gath cannot do.
Which is exactly what Sion's doing right now. Goes in, pushes up, puts down a ward near the blue buff. And so, just like clockwork.
Smart play on both sides.
And has pushback.
Has the banner of command up top, but 100 Thieves does something that'll help him push a little bit better here. We have 3 people in the mid lane.
Looks like they have a bit for that wave to reset though, so they should do some damage, be taken down. But they threat, they start setting things up that will
Polo
work
has his
in their
ulti.
favor.
Yeah, he has the arrow.
Looking for who they need.
They're waiting
shield
for
on,
Black
though.
Shield.
Oh, it's down.
Oh, he broke it.
Nicely done. Oh, they get him pinched against the wall. They put himself right up against the slot. Was not
Meteos
able
is
to get
behind,
out.
though. He has
Meteos
everything
to
up.
come through. Ragnarok there, ready to use one undertow to take down Hakuo. His eyes on Apollo. Ooh. He matches the undertow, but they want to back up. They see coming down the river is Lyra and Febivin ready to turn this fight around for Clutch Gaming.
That was so incredibly well played from Hakuo and Apollo. As I said, a master playing against Morgana. He knows exactly how to play it, waiting, trying to bait out the Black Shield, and then right at the right time, he's able to break the Black Shield with his Mantra Q, nail that ulti, and just an impressive play from Hakuo and Apollo.
And seriously, we haven't seen the Karma in a very long time. The Ardent Sensor meta was when we last kind of saw it, and even then it was like max the E. This is a max Q here coming out for Hakuo, where he's just trying to have enough damage to blow up that Black Shield, like you're saying, Azael, so that they can open it up. And he basically covered the options for Aftermove. Aftermove's either going to take a boatload of damage from the Karma,
wave.
or he's going to get stunned.
Febivin wants to answer, unleashes the power. One last Q could do it. Flash from Ryu as Lyra is just coming out of the wings. Here comes the train down the tracks as Solo. A little late there to the party, and Clutch Gaming grab a bit of control over the map.
That is both summoners down there for Febivin, though, and Ryu only having to blow his flash because Lyra also showed up. So still a positive summoner trade there, 400 Thieves, and Clutch does have kind of the HP advantage, and they are posturing out around the dragon. But here is the play on the bottom side again. So this is really just a dance between who is going to use it first, the Ashe ultimate or the Black Shield. You need to force that out before you can hit that Ashe ulti. And there it is, able to break it, guarantees the Ashe ult.
Hakuho, like you said, Azale, so good at playing against the Morgana. And that's when Meteos came in and cleaned up. But even when he was playing Thresh against Morgana, he maxed Q first, and then he made it so that he has enough damage with the Q auto attack to, when you're on Thresh to take it, you blow up the Black Shield, they're going to eat a flay. So he knows those breakpoints for the Morgana Black Shield since you max the Q first in the bind.
Thinking of all the little things, and you have to expect that's where Alphamu feels like he's going to have an upper hand. They'll put themselves in those tight plays, but then fall a little bit behind because Hakuo is in his head a little bit.
And it's one of those things where because Afro wants to take a Morgana away from his opponent, and because it's a good matchup into the Ashe specifically, it allows Hakuo to have the advantageous support matchup because he gets that second pick and because he has such a reputation on that champion. And there's not really like a tremendous amount of things that are super strong with Black Shield. Yes, there is the Ashe ultimate, but there's
Wow.
Afromu stealing the dragon.
There's a Black Shield. Oh, he netted the wrong way. That could take him down. Cody's son tripping up a little bit in these fights. Afromu is going to be able to make it out alive. And he saves the day and the Drake.
Gets the Cloud Drake for 100 Thieves. Steals it away, true to the name. But they end up having to blow some flashes there in the bottom side. So that's something that can be easily punished, though, by Clutch Gaming if they have a revisit. And remember, first turret has not gone down yet, so if they punish that bottom lane, that's one that you really have to watch now.
It definitely is. I'm not sure if Lear just didn't have his smite. No, it looks like his smite was actually available.
Coming down.
Didn't use it, so.
He used it early.
Oh, wow.
He used it, and it went down to about 190-ish, and the Dark Binding took it.
Well, unlucky. But bottom turret going to go down for Clutch, so still definitely the gold edge in their favor. Things really looking good on the bottom side of the map. It's going to be interesting to see where Apollo starts to move around now. Essence Reaver is completed, has that CDR for the ultimate.
And I think that this is just kind of a game-changing or a match-changing type of bottom lane here that we're seeing. So we'll check this, 197,
That's just a bad smite, right?
Yeah.
There's no real pressure there.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to happen. And, whoop, sun in his eyes, you know, a little bit of mistake there, a little bit of mistake there.
April Fool's, guys.
Yeah.
Just kidding, just a prank. Don't kill me.
Afro played that well with the Black Shield, saving Cody. But like I was saying, this was a first pick Caitlyn that's now losing the bottom lane after they got Flash out of the Karma level 1. This changes the whole series where if you think that your first pick Caitlyn will always be able to win the lane and they pick Ashe and it's neutralized, you might have to start changing some picks up.
Yeah, it's definitely the case, and it just goes to show how important the support matchup really is, right? And that's a lot of what people were talking about coming into the series, and not only the players, but also the champions. And you know, the Karma has really kind of changed things around because we saw, you know, how dominant Caitlyn Nami was yesterday when they had kind of advantageous support matchup in that TL Echo Fox series. So it's definitely something you're going to have to watch out for.
Makes me wonder what Clutch will select for their game 2 in terms of red side or blue side, because everybody's pretty much picking blue, saying they don't have to ban Swain or anything and they can get it themselves. But now there's so many junglers on the table, like Trundle. You just go for these trades, and we'll see what happens, though. But right here in this game, the reason we're even talking about that is because this bottom lane was something that Clutch kind of had to put together later on. They didn't get the Caitlyn for Apollo, his most played, and then they last picked the Karma up against the Morgana. That's a classic for Hakuho, showing that they can actually deal with these things.
And looking at what actually happened for Clutch versus TSM, Apollo had those two Caitlyn games, a 1-1-1, and the other one was decent at 2-0-9. But his Kog'Maw and Jhin were also 7-1-9, 6-0-7. So if they want to let Cody Sun have that, Apollo still has a bunch that he can play happily.
Yeah, he definitely does, and it's always interesting. There's so much give and take between these types of champions because you can go for something like a Kog'Maw and have this really powerful later stage, but if you get too far behind in the early to something like that Caitlyn, who has a pushing potential, has that sieging potential, you might never get there. But so far in this game, things are pretty damn even, and you have to think that the Trundle could really be a game changer in the mid and late game team fights.
Yeah, the Trundle enhancing the damage of both the Syndra and the Ashe is huge, but I'm looking at 100 Thieves composition. Cody Sun, this guy, just historically throughout this split, he has the highest percent of his team's damage out of anybody in the entire league with 35.7% of his team's damage. That that basically just makes everything else dwarf in comparison.
Yep.
And in this game in particular here, he's set up where they have a shielding mid laner for him, and they have a black shield on the bottom side to kind of make it so that he's the person who can bring that damage. But you really have to say, when he's behind like this, it really does favor Clutch.
The case. It's not every day you see a Cho'Gath proxy farm. Cho'Gath some days actually just behind the turret, farming in between the turrets.
Meanwhile,
you know, you basically never see this unless it's a singed, pretty much. And it's pretty interesting because he's just not afraid at all, knowing that Lyra was on the bottom side of the map. He got spotted, so was just farming a couple waves in between turrets.
And now Solo gets the push and roams into his own jungle after looking mid. He's kind of looping back up top now, so everybody's just kind of playing back and forth. The Drake is in 1 minute here, and that bottom turret, it's interesting because they haven't actually changed it out, and you would expect a lane swap from Clutch to kind of protect the top side, but someday he's gonna need one more here. Oh, one more.
And that's actually a really big deal. I mean, Someday just straight up in this 1v1 takes the turret from his opponent. They're both the same type of build, but Cho'Gath is going to be able to establish an advantage in that 1v1.
Yeah, but it was a minion dematerializer there from Solo that ate up that cannon minion that was bannered up, but now you're seeing a rotation. The cannon minion is up here, and now 3 members of Clutch Gaming are coming towards that top side to maybe push it out.
and just to focus on speed there, he boosted up the melee. So he was like, I need to do this now. I need to get the turret now. We saw Someday trying to move really fast there, but you're right. Dematerialized, quick play by Solo. But they switch up the map now. Who is this going to favor? A lot of lane presence can be had by the Scion and the rest of Clutch Gaming. Is 100 Thieves ready?
And kind of the funny thing is, in these tank versus tank matchups, when both are going banner, you know, yes, there's a dematerializer as an answer for Solo, but that is, you know, limited quantity. You're going to run out of those. Whereas Someday on the Cho'Gath can continually feast bannered minions, and that is true damage. So, you know, it actually just pretty much one-shots those. So that is a pretty powerful way that Cho'Gath has to actually answer that if you're both just kind of slapping against each other, trying to get those turrets, as it mostly has been.
Nice shockwave double hit there. Black Shield was already onto Cody, so he can get hits onto the turret very nicely with no pressure coming from Hakuo. They do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They're able to take down mid, and they have gone 1, 2, 3 across the outer ring of turrets in a few minutes for the side of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, they had none of those turrets, but then Someday breaks open 2, and the rest of the team's able to get that mid one. Clutch will get 1 back, and then that mid turret is actually still very low. But right now, Meteos, they're doing the Drake there. That's the second one there for 100 Thieves.
Nice to get an Ocean under their belt as well. They have some tanky people on the board. Stay out a little bit longer now. And see what the wards get placed. The map's getting a little dark here as they're moving some forward. We're getting them cleared as teams are going to reset. And we'll see where they go now. The map is opened up.
Yeah, we have to make sure for 100 Thieves, can they get the Orianna here and the Caitlyn here in time for wave clear? Because this turret might just go down after the backs just came through.
Yeah, it's looking like it definitely is going to go down there for Clutch. And this game is just so incredibly even. 3 turrets apiece. You know, both teams have had their crack at the Dragons, and really across the board, things are looking pretty even. There's, you know, a lead for 100 Thieves in the top lane, a lead for Clutch in the bottom lane. And while Meteos is quite ahead in the jungle, you know, I do think that the champion picks can kind of neutralize.
Getting ahead only helps the Trundle.
Yeah, exactly. The tankier you get, the tankier he gets.
But the Zeke's Convergence will actually up the damage there for Cody's son when he binds with him, which he has.
He double and Knight's Vow there.
Yeah, I actually think it's really smart because, you know, we were kind of joking, but yes, you are actually somewhat just giving over those stats to the Trundle and going more utility base. You cannot steal the passive bonus from a Zeke's or from a Knight's Vow or anything like that with the Trundle Ultimate. But that being said, you know, Cho'Gath is also such a good target to actually Trundle. I think he's actually the best target in the game because of all the bonus HP he's getting from his feast, and since you're stealing a percentage of that, it makes you hilariously tanky when you use it on a 5,000 HP Cho'Gath, as you can get to in the late stages of the game.
It's one of the things you got to recognize, because it's not like, hey, Lyra ulted me, he's going to be huge coming after you. That's an all-hover. Shockwave return. Quick cleanse coming from Ryu.
Here's
the double hit. The Black Shield keeping him free from the stun. Solo doesn't match it. Unleash Power does not take down Cody's son either. Someday comes in, chomps down onto to Apollo, and the mission has begun. They are on to Solo, one of the tanky members. Lyra can't even help him, looking for one more pillar to probably disengage the fight, but they're able to do it with the distance they create. And quickly, 100 Thieves in a snap judgment pull a fight on Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, such a good turnaround there. Critical for Clutch, though, that most of their team got out. Otherwise, that would have been 100 Thieves Baron. We'll see if 100 Thieves wants to try to threaten it anyway. A Feast is on cooldown, and so is Smite.
Exactly. The big thing there was Someday got a TP in the middle of that, and then he just nommed on Apollo and blew him up into Apollo. Splash there. Stop muting me, Azael. It's my time to talk.
I love you guys. 26 minutes in, it looks like Clutch Gaming still wants to play. They say we may have lost Apollo, but he's got his ult back up. He's running up. This is where we taunt them in. Do they realize what that back timer is for him coming up the lane? It seems like they do. They want to take a different position, running mid lane horizontally instead of parallel in that river position, and they get themselves set up for defense now.
Yeah, both teams going to have to be posturing pretty heavily around this mid lane. You know, when Apollo gets knocked down like that, it is very low chance to actually be able to win the rest of the fight, because when you're looking at this Clutch Gaming squad, you know, it is not a Cassiopeia in the mid lane. It is a Syndra. Syndra is not very proficient at punching through tanks, and 100 Thieves are actually just going to start this up. Solo does have his teleport, though.
Yeah, they're confident, though, with the Feast. So we'll see here. Lyra has the flash, but
Scion ulti.
oh boy, here comes Solo.
Lyra's looking.
Oh!
Secured.
Whoa!
Right up Main Street. Can Solo do good on the other side? 3-man shockwave coming in from Ryu, and Clutch Gaming needs to reconsider the entire fight. They lose Solo in a solo fight on the top side, more of a 2v1. He tries to run back and say, don't forget me, guys, but 100 Thieves is making moves now, 27 minutes in.
And 100 Thieves, when they started going on that spree with the 9-1 in their last 10, it was all about playing that annoying style, the macro game style. And they're showing here, they put you in a situation where the game is in an even state, that they're going to be able to take this Baron. This is not how Clutch plays the game. They like those ones where they bait the Baron out and then do it. But right here, the flash in, you can't even, it's not even close to smite range.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Clutch needed to take the fight afterwards, but Solo is off on his own, and that shockwave is a game changer, because if Clutch corrals them and clears up all these members in that pit, then they can get more off that Baron. But because of that shockwave, not only does 100 Thieves get the Baron, they get the kill. They have the banner minion pushing up here in mid lane, and they can deal a devastating amount of damage to Clutch on this push.
There are no more dematerializers in the inventory here for Solo. You'd have to have Febivin like grab the minion, but getting in range to do that, there he goes.
You also got the Warmogs out as well. Someday's not going to be going home anytime soon now. With his health coming back up, Rabadon's almost in the hands of Ryu as he's double rotted up. And they will make their way back home, or at least to take resources out of Clutch Gaming's jungle. Sub 30 minutes. We just saw every outer turret go down as we figured what would happen with both teams. 100 Thieves hit the gas pedal pretty hard.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be about, you know, Cody-san getting shielded up by Ryu. Ryu is now just throwing out massive shockwaves in back-to-back team fights there and doing a fantastic job on this Orianna here.
But there is so much to enable Cody-san in this game. You know, it's the Zeeks, there's the Knight's Vow, the Redemption is done here for Aphromu, he has Black Shield, the Death Cap is going to be completed soon for Ryu, that's even more shielding, and then you have this massive frontline Cho'Gath. So Cody-san, you know, is going to have a tremendous amount of opportunity to be punishing out a lot of damage in this fight.
Yeah, and 100 Thieves compositions are usually structured in that way, where Ryu's a pivot, kind of the second damage dealer. Cody-san is primary with 2 tanks, sometimes 3, but Aphromu is always there, holding his hand, making sure that he's okay. And then he's got his buddies back there.
Giving him the Black Shield when he needs it. Minions on their way in. Like you said, Zyrene, Dematerializer is gone for Solo. And they're going to have to deal with these minions, mainly Apollo, getting his volleys out to shred them as they come in. The trap line is being set ever so slowly as 100 Thieves looking to make another hit as the line comes in.
And if they want to empower Cody-san, this is the point where taking down this turret, it's an inevitability.
Yeah.
You Black Shield him, you give him the Orianna shield, he walks up with the trap line with full confidence that he can't be caught here, and then he gets to deal that damage. A lot of times, frontline AD carry sounds like a bad thing. Here, they take that risk, and you see the shields on him.
Yep.
Gets the inhibitor.
And if Clutch isn't going to fight at the turret, they're not really able to fight for the inhibitor either, so just going to have to give that one up. And kind of try to cut their losses, but it's so much gold in the pockets of 100 Thieves. There is one more outer on the map. They can retreat back to this dragon, give another stack of Feast over there to
They
Sunday.
all have over 1,000 gold.
Yeah, and that's 10 stacks now on the Cho'Gath. He's at 4,800 health already. Going to be quickly working up to that 5K mark, where things start to get pretty insane. Now Stoneplate completed, not only ramping up your tankiness, but even ramping up the damage coming out of that ult.
Yep. You see as well, I was wondering when he would get it, Cody's son has so much protection, but he says, I'll make Febiven's life even harder when he tries to scatter and get the stun. Cleanse for himself. It's going to be even harder now for Clutch Gaming to follow up on these Ash arrows, on these Black Shield hits, or even the dodges. Fancy feet from Cody's son as they get themselves to safety there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Black Shield, it's a front line,
Yeah.
who Ragnarok can be popped to break those magic shields, and now QSS on top of it, even if anything ever happens to slip through. So it's just kind of eliminating any options to come back for Clutch, because when you're looking at this game now, it's how does Clutch win? And it has to be almost, that pick on Cody-san or a pick on Ryu to start the fights, but they have a lot of protection around them.
And even then, Someday is now dealing a massive amount of damage with his ultimate. 10 stacks,
GA.
all that HP.
Oh, I'm sorry, the
behind it.
Gargoyle.
Yeah, the Gargoyle Stone Plate on top of it. Like, that's a massive amount of HP that he's going to be taking away from anybody. I'm pretty sure he would get Apollo down to just a sliver of HP with a Stone Plate plus a piece.
Or he could make a gigantic Lyra. If he gets in at the right, if he gets in at the right time, he could be unstoppable. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. They don't at least give them the chance. I'm sure Lyra wants every bit of it. And now around the horn for 100 Thieves. They're going to be looking at that mid lane. Maybe have somebody topside, but everybody together for now. It's the party system.
But Clutch is still going to have their opportunities if they can slow down the game. Baron isn't up until another about 2 minutes. They have to contest the Baron and the Elder, but besides that, you can really just sit in your base and farm it out and try to depend on the fact that Trundle is still going to give you a lot of power in the team fight. Wait for Apollo to really get up to his Lord Dominic's, his last whisper item, so he can start punching through this front line more too.
Yeah, you're kind of waiting for, as well, for 100 Thieves to drop their defenses for a moment and not be completely grouped up. That's kind of how Clutch is going to find the best opportunity to land an Ash Arrow and Black Shield be damned. Syndra is going to do damage through it and break it. So you're hoping for Febiven to get enough damage to do so, and for Apollo to catch somebody out. He also brought Ultimate Hat on this Ash so that he can keep firing those arrows, have that low cooldown on it. And it's about 55 seconds right now, and he doesn't even have the last rank of it. So you're looking for him to constantly throw those out and look for picks, which he has been doing.
Trying to keep himself in a good spot to hit those at least. Cody's son has sometimes been on the front line, but like you guys said, Aphromu is right there to help him. A little false sense of security. Always draw that Ash out as well as they try to bait out the 1-4 surefire initiation that Clutch Gaming has other than scattering the weak. Towards the mid lane, it looks like they're getting just about everything pushed up here, so Clutch Gaming is going to have a lot to deal with. Solo takes care of bottom here as they try to stave off that mid push.
Exactly, a lot to deal with, and the Baron's in 20 seconds here, so this is kind of the housekeeping of pushing all your waves up when you're the team that's winning right now. Just secure yourself a Baron in the near future.
You want traps on traps? With traps? How about some more traps? No fight there, obviously.
You see the pillar, though, an attempt there.
Oh. One
down.
finding, follow-up, could chomp him if they see the damage is right. He's gonna get the hit. Oh, the heal comes through, keeps himself alive. Very nicely done. They're gonna be able to turn this fight, but there's Gargoyle on, and this is when Lyra wants back in. He gets the subjugate on, but can they get in the fight continuously? Someday with all the spell shield, heals the hits, turns it around once more. Febiven trying to deliver the damages. Ryu has already expended that ultimate hit, and it looks like they separate, but minions are in the base on the Nexus turret.
And that super fast ultimate from Lyra changed that fight completely.
Yes.
He got the ultimate out before he got CC'd there, and as a result, they're able to survive and burst down Meteos, and they could be the ones looking to pressure here.
Did they go for broke? Was it too much? The turn
Cody's
around,
on the side.
trying to get the silence. Cody's son looking for the hits, hitting the front line, not the back line. He sees Febiven, but he wants to get solo. That's where the follow-up damage is from 100 Thieves, and they want to cancel him out. A pillar stops him. Sunday. Cody's son is trying to use him as a damn shield, and it's working. Hakuo falls. The double kill for Cody's son as he's shining bright. Someday in the base, the first Nexus turret, he says, where are you going? Nowhere. He's going to see Lyra coming at him right now as Febiven tries to get to the minions to clear. Ryu is right behind Someday as he has already healed back up to full, and they could be looking for more.
But the inhibitor respawned here. Lyra's just giving him the runaround, trying to buy some time.
Yeah! Whoa! One more! Got him! Jeez!
Afro styling on him, just hits the S key.
Secured. You don't even know the Thief trickery right now. It's just too good for Clutch. And 100 Thieves start to solidify that game one victory. Final touches on the KDAs. The Nexus will fall in game 1 to 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves with a really clean game. And no, it's not just the championship white jerseys they have on today.
Tide commercial? What a game, back and forth. Pretty actually even to start things off. We saw pressure from both sides. The strength of Hakuo in that bottom lane is a lot of our focus throughout the series today is going to be down there. And he was able to kind of say, hey, take the Morgana. I'll play inside your head because that's also my champion.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the laning phase went pretty well in the favor of Apollo and Hakuo. They were looking pretty dominant on the bottom side, but Someday was really helping to pick up a lot of the slack, picking up a lot of gold on the top side, getting a turret in an isolated 1v1, then knocking down the bottom lane turret when he rotates down there. And he really was a pretty big game changer in a lot of these fights. Even some of the early skirmishes, his feast, killing Apollo in that mid lane fight was very, very big. And it's really only the Barons that kind of felt like it separated this team. And just how well 100 Thieves was able to kind of manipulate the map and base timers to be able to grab
I think having the Cho'Gath really did help them go for those Barons. So I think that pick is something we'll have to keep an eye on moving forward.
Finally, it'll chomp through those tanks as well. So to hear more about that game 1 win from 100 Thieves, let's send it to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Rivington. A nail-biter of a first game here to kick off the series. Dead even for a majority of the game until 100 Thieves snagged that Baron, able to push that advantage forward, ultimately to a victory. But before we get into the gameplay elements, I do want to talk about champion select. As always, that plays a major part in best of fives and the ultimate result. Here we have the priority on the Caitlyn of all things coming out first for 100 Thieves, giving over that Trundle that we saw played to great effect yesterday.
I think it makes sense when you consider who you're playing against. Apollo has looked great on the Caitlyn, seems to be his best champion, as well as the fact that Clutch Gaming almost always wins through their bot lane. So take away one of their best picks, one of the best picks in the meta, get it for yourself, and hopefully that neutralizes one of their strengths because Meteos is going to perform no matter what he's on. We talked about his limited champion pool a little bit this split, but he always looked good.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to note about the draft phase as well is how hard Clutch Gaming targeted Ryu. Triple mid lane ban, and then with the early pick Ori that they ended up going with, actually had a good game. Femi never got the solo kill, never really generated pressure out of the mid lane, and Ryu had a great game considering he was the target of so many early phase bans.
Very much so. Of course, we did see a number of support bans go through as well. Notably, though, that Morgana was left up, and it was Aframu of all people who picked it up. But that is not necessarily what dictated the lane, as was mentioned by the casters. Hakuo, with a very distinct understanding of that champion, how it's played, meant that Clutch Gaming largely controlled the bot lane, while 100 Thieves was putting focus into the top lane and trying to get Someday rolling against Solo.
I mean, that's the thing. The Cho'Gath is one of those champions that's going to infinitely scale, and then the extra pressure that the Olaf has in the early game is a big factor for why they were able to get that top side going on fairly early with the pressure.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at some of that footage now. Here it comes. Meteos unstoppable on your screen here, picking up some early kills.
That was a little bit
that lane around.
That was a little bit after the early game that they had lost here. A huge steal comes through for the Cloud Drake, which I do think helped 100 Thieves navigate those team fights later in the game. Also, April Fools when he jumps backwards with his net for Cody's son. Gives his team a surprise, but they do survive this one. And then once they had powered up the Cho'Gath so much, having the feast secure was key, but then also I'm a little skeptical of how Clutch Gaming played this fight. I think they should have gone harder into the pit.
It's one of those things where you've lost the Baron, and if you don't punish the people in the pit, they're going to back out with 5 people with Baron, you're going to lose the game. And so they had to go harder. It's a risky play, but they needed to kind of, instead of sending that Ash arrow at one of the carries, leaving the pit, send it at the actual pit, kill 3 people, neutralize that disadvantage that's already happened. And then once they fell behind, despite having the Trundle into the Cho'Gath to steal his stats, Someday was an absolute monster in this game, not just in the lead he built himself, but how he played out those fights. Super, super well done by him.
That was a 4v5, by the way, because Meteos had died in an engagement just before that. But ultimately, Someday playing a great front line for the team. Cody stepping up when he needed to in that final fight to put the damage down and zero out the other 80 carry. Ultimately, 100 Thieves pushes through for the victory. But once again, we have to consider how tight of a game this was, as well as Clutch Gaming being a squad that is able to suffer losses. We've seen this. We saw it in their quarterfinal. They took game one, or rather they were defeated in game one and then ran it back. And so reframing towards game two, let's talk about how these teams should adjust, looking at picking up a victory here and evening up the score.
Yeah, I think side swap. I think Caitlyn actually is a little bit less of a priority based on the Ashe pick now kind of being shown that they can play that. It definitely feels like Clutch played a lot of practice against TL, where Ashe was a big pick into Caitlyn. And I do think even though Trundle was very early picked, it might end up seeing a ban. Like, 100 Thieves macro was so good that game that they made it feel like it wasn't that close when it really was.
Right.
There were some sketchy moments in that game when they'd lost the bot lane turret, when you're thinking the Trundle can neutralize Cho'Gath later, but 100 Thieves played it so well that it didn't seem that way.
The thing that was interesting to me is we talked about that Caitlyn pick and how it was losing laning phase, but if you look at afterwards, there were two critical team fights where Apollo died pretty early on to the Cho'Gath from Someday, and I'm wondering if it's one of the things people always kind of held against Apollo was late game carry potential. Is he really up there with the other great 80 carries in North America? And it does feel like potentially the Caitlyn was a little bit of a crutch for him, because without the mobility from it and playing just the immobile carry, he did die in fights when he shouldn't have.
It's true. Caitlyn was also Apollo's most picked 80 carry during the regular season. And Hakuo jokingly called Apollo a Caitlyn one-trick last week. And I know it's joking within the team, but at a certain extent, that is the champion he's kind of shown success with.
Right.
So I guess even though if there's an Ashe there, I think Caitlyn should still stay super high priority for 100 Thieves.
Clutch moving to blue side, no subs elected for this game number 2. While we talk about, maybe Apollo's inability to carry in the late game, my question then would be, should they transfer more of that responsibility to Febivin? He was on that more early game, mid-game oriented champion in Syndra, didn't get a ton done. Of course, understanding Azir, Taliyah, Ryze, Swain, all these champions were banned, so he didn't have a ton of options, but Cassiopeia perhaps still available. Where could he go maybe to index or cover for Apollo in that late game?
Well, I mean, that's what was nice about the Ori, is it's still kind of strong into Cassio, and then there were some synergies where it's like, okay, the Trundle will steal resist, and then you can still have Syndra burst them in the late game, even if they are tanks.
Okay.
But the problem is you don't have any good early game pressure then, when that's really when you want Syndra to really start getting snowballing, so you hurt your snowball potential because the poor gank assist in order to have better late game, but it just seems a little backwards to me, and I would have minded seeing a more aggressive jungle pick if they were going to go for that.
All right, well, we'll see what they come up with here. Switching to the blue side for Game 2. Clutch Gaming will get the opportunity to bite back in Game 2. Meet us back here to see if they can deliver after the break.
Probably, is this a 3-game set or a 5-game set? A 1-game set.
Maybe the Rupture first. They want to get that flash out of him before they place the Rupture down. He gets hit up, and he's going to get taken down.
Wait, right here, speaking of dying, Cody's son.
Not looking good. He figured he was in a safe spot. Solo doesn't match it. Unleashed Power does not take down Cody's son either. Someday comes in, chomps down onto Apollo.
We got silent.
We're gonna go down.
We gotta get cut out. Ashe flash, Ashe flash. We need that, guys. Go. Yeah, we need that.
A pillar stops him. Someday Cody's son is trying to use him as a damn shield, and it's working. Hakuo falls. The double kill for Cody's son. Welcome to Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. Since we know the importance of lending a hand, we want to highlight players and plays that help the team bring home the big W. If you have a favorite assist from this week that you want us to highlight, tweet the clip with the hashtag NALCS and the hashtag State Farm Assist, and we may feature it in a future episode. So get out there and bring some support.